who you are, or for the mere fact that you are here, we are really appreciate it, but you are not allowed to participate in this sitting through clapping of hands. We also want to request that we refrain from walking up and down whilst we are in procession with our sitting. Honorable members, let me recognize the attendance of our Honorable Premier Dr. Samani Sol in our midst, all the members of the legislature, our Honorable Deputy Speaker, Honorable Mangatika, the Leader of Government Business, Honorable Bentley Fass, all members of the Executive Council in our midst, the Leader of the Official Opposition, Honorable Maglua, as well as leaders of political parties within the legislature. Let me also recognize the attendance of all executive mayors and speakers that has been invited to this house sitting. The executive mayor and the speaker of Francis Bar District Municipality, the executive mayor and speaker of Pokwane Local Municipality, you are all welcome to this house sitting. And also to our esteemed guests comprising of our communities, within our community members within Pokwane Municipality. Let me also welcome the media in attendance, all our officials from different departments that are also here with us. Honorable members, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you to this morning's house sitting for the convergence of the Northern Cape Provincial Legislature, expectant to receive the Premier's reply to the State of the Province debate held yesterday at the Legislature chambers, as well as the budget speech from our MEC Vosloo, that is responsible for finance, economic development, and tourism. We are pleased to be hosting our house sitting here in Hartswater. This speaks to our commitment of being a legislature that goes to its people and is for its people. As the 6th legislature, we remain committed to our strategic vision of hosting rotational house sittings in all the 5 districts of our vast province. This is to ensure that we keep bringing the legislature closer to the people of the Northern Cape. Honorable members and all our guests, with these few words, I officially welcome you all to one of the most eagerly anticipated sessions on the legislature's calendar, and hereby declare the session duly open. Thank you very much. Honorable members and all our guests, I would want to request you that our gadget cell phones, can we please put it on silent, as we don't want any interruptions whilst we are proceeding with our sitting. Honorable Premier, are there any announcements that you want to make?
Good morning, Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members. No announcements for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Premier. Honorable members, can I allow you to raise any motions without notice in terms of Rule 136? Going once, going twice, going thrice. There's no motion without notice in this House. Let me then also allow in terms of Rule 135 for any notices of motions. Going once, going twice. There's no notices of motions. Thank you very much, honorable members, for your cooperation. Secretary, can you read us the first order of the day?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The first order of the day is a Premier's reply on debate of the State of the Province address. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Secretary. Honorable members and guests, let me now invite our Honorable Premier, Dr. Samani Sol, to reply to the debate on his State of the Province address. Thank you very much, Honorable Premier.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Let me take this opportunity also to greet our Honorable Deputy Speaker, Honorable Matika. Let me then greet the leaders of the opposition, Honorable Maglua, and the leader of the EFF, Honorable Claule, leader of the Freedom Front Plus, Dani Kutie, honorable members of the provincial legislature, ladies and gentlemen, our host mayor, I see Mayor Harams is sitting right here in the front row, and I was just praying that whilst we are seated here, there is no vote of no confidence against the vote. Because we have come to become used to votes of no confidence around here. So I had to beg with Honorable Kaule that please no vote of no confidence today. He said, no, that's okay. Just to ensure that there is order around here. And I see we've got some of our mayors who have attended this event. And I was asking, why do we have so many mayors and councillors here today and government officials? I was told it's not for my response. It's for the budget vote. So I don't want to steal the light out of Honorable Vosloo's budget vote. And let me also greet all our councillors that are here, comrades and friends, members of the media. Allow me to thank all members of the legislature who participated in the debate that we had yesterday. And when my wife asked me, how was it? I told her that it was fireworks. Maybe because it was the last debate that took place for this sixth term of the provincial legislature. We have thus provided empirical evidence supported by reliable data that has been independently verified on the work that we have done as government. We take note of the issues raised by all honorable members. We are the first to acknowledge that there are massive developmental challenges that are confronting this province. We don't deny that. However, there is work that is done to address all those challenges. It will be dishonest to say that we are not doing anything to address the major developmental challenges that are confronting our beautiful province. As we woke up this morning, Honorable Speaker, 329,000 people in the province went to work, and that's the highest figure ever. As we woke up this morning, Honorable Speaker, 310,000 children will be accommodated this morning in 555 schools right across the province, which is the highest figure ever. From the 310,000 children who are going to school this morning, about 270,000 of them will be fed at the school today. For the 2023 grade 12 class, close to 10,000 learners passed the year grade 12, and that is the highest figure ever. The GDP of the province is currently estimated at around 150 billion rand, which is the highest ever. 15 billion rand investment over the past 4.5 years. That is the highest investment ever on infrastructure in the Northern Cape. We have the Special Investigative Unit offices in the province for the first time, which this office was launched in 2022. All of this indicates to the fact that we had a provincial government which was hard at work. If we had a provincial government which was not hard at work, we would not have been able to record such major achievements, which are unmatched, which are unparalleled in the history of the Northern Cape. The MEC of Sports, Arts and Culture just came to me now to inform me that there's 2 officials from her department that were just arrested this morning. And that is all because of the work that we are doing to combat corruption and malfeasance in the public service. When we started, Honorable Speaker, this administration articulated a vision to guide the work of this administration. We made time to canvass this vision and invite stakeholders to buy into it. A vision is not a once-off event. So we had the first 5 years in the implementation of our vision to build a modern, growing, and successful province. And after these elections, we'll get the second 5-year terms in continuing with our work to build on this vision. It is a long-term objective. A vision is not where you are, it is where you want to be in the future. It is, therefore, a protracted journey underpinned by short, medium, and long-term implementable goals. It is informed by a comprehensive, well-researched plan. It stands to reason that throughout this term we have consistently reported progress on how far we are in advancing this vision. This can hardly be considered to be misguided rhetoric. On the matter of cadre deployment, I just want to say this is a practice the world over. It's not something unique to the African National Congress. The Democratic Alliance, which raised something on the issue of cadre deployment, they are also deploying. They are also deploying. In actual fact, their cadre deployment, it's more radical than the cadre deployment of the African National Congress. Far-reaching than the one that we have. And already now, because they are looking at the polls, and the polls create some positive vibe amongst them that they might win elections, they've lined up already their cadres for positions. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Konote wrongly refers to our neglect of the Khoi and the San people of Ward 1 in Platfontein. Like any other community, Platfontein forms part of this province, and therefore government takes responsibility for its well-being and its development. The Platfontein community has been incorporated into the broader community of Solplaatje municipality. This is evident in projects such as housing, healthcare, education, social welfare, training and skilling of the youth, to mention but a few of the basket of services made available to this community. They are by no means marginalized. Currently, we have adopted 5 students from Platfontein who are beneficiaries of the Premier's discretionary fund and are busy with post-matric studies here in Kimberley. And we are also paying for their accommodation. This is on top of other students who are beneficiaries of the Premier's Transversal Bursary Fund. We take pride in the fact that we also have Tin Swallows amongst the people of Platfontein who are teachers and nurses today and are plowing back to that community. They are making a positive contribution towards the development of the Platfontein community. Platfontein has its own SABC radio station, broadcasting in their own languages, thereby advancing and promoting the cultural and linguistic rights of the community as enshrined in the Constitution. Honorable Maglua mentioned that the outcomes of the polls by the various polling houses, they indicate that the ANC is going to lose elections. But he fails to mention that all recent polls indicates two things. That the DA is going to lose the Western Cape. Ipsos, the last report of Ipsos that came out in November, says the DA is going to lose Western Cape. Is going to lose the metro as well. I'm taking you to your polls. And number two, what these polls indicate as well is that the DA, after these elections, they won't be the official opposition. The official opposition will be the EFF. And you don't mention that. You speak about the polls, and you don't mention what the polls are saying about the Democratic Alliance. That after these elections, you won't be in charge of Cape Town, you won't be in charge of the Western Cape, That after these elections, you would have lost your position as an official opposition to the EFF. It is a dream when the polls are saying that about their party. But the polls are correct when they say that about the ANC. The same report that you are reading, the same poll outcomes that you are reading, that's what they are saying about the DA. So, Honorable Maglua, we are one of the few provinces in the country that managed to close our checker account with a positive bank balance over the past 3 years. All of this is due to our commitment to cut on executive frills and wastages in the system. I don't think there should, by this stage, be any member of this provincial legislature who doubts our commitment to fight on executive frills and wastages in the system. Since we started here, it's for the first time that we got the red carpet here, which is brought by MEC Vosloo. We said in our gatherings, we are not using red carpets. The people that deserve red carpets are the ones who pay for our salaries. And the ones who pay for our salaries is the taxpayers, the poorest of the poor, whose conditions of life we are tasked to improve. And the reason why we had closed the checker accounts on 3 consecutive years on a positive bank balance, it's all because we've committed on the first day in office that we are going to cut executive frills in the system. While other provinces spent millions on official residence of the Premier, here in the Northern Cape, this provincial government does not spend a cent. By choice, I stay in my house and not stay in a state house that costs about 8 million rand. By choice. I maintain my house, buy my own groceries, house. I don't have a chef there in my house. I drive my children to school. There's no state official that is tasked to drive my children to school. I do that myself. As this executive, we put ourselves in a disadvantage to create an advantage for the people of the Northern Cape. I was listening to the argument which was raised by the DA National on the issue of official residences. Money that is spent on the official residences of the president and the ministers. It was only when they were informed that their premier in the Western Cape stays in an official residence which cost more than 30 million rand that they stopped that campaign. They stopped it immediately when they were reminded that whilst you are on a campaign on the issue of official residences, your premier in the Western Cape is staying in an official residence of more than 30 million rand. It actually exposed their duplicity. So here in the Northern Cape, you've got a premier who does not cost this provincial administration a cent. Yes, a cent. Who stays at his own house. And the official residence has been rented out to the Department of Treasury at an amount of 60,000 rand per month, which gets directed to the Premier's Bursary Fund. So they stopped that thing of official residences as soon as they were exposed that my counterpart in the Western Cape stays at a residence that costs more than 30 million rand. When they were reminded about that. So I'm here to remind you that if we can ask any of the MECs of the Western Cape to come and be an MEC in the Northern Cape, they will refuse to come. They will say, I won't be an MEC in the Northern Cape. And the reason why they would refuse to do that is simply because of our campaign to cut on wastages to members of parliament. And the EFF will come back with 4 members of parliament. That in total, it's 19 plus 2, 21 plus 4 is 24. And the DA will come back with 5 members of parliament. You spoke about the polls. I'm telling you now what the polls are saying. So, Omdani, dat betekent je het goede werk gedaan in deze. So after these elections, we'll have the same composition of 3 parties. The ANC, DA, 4 parties, the ANC, DA, EFF, and Freedom Front Plus. All 3 parties will come back with increased numbers, and there's only one that will come back with reduced numbers, and that is the Democratic Alliance. They will be limping. I think Honorable Maruping states it correctly that they will be limping. So colleagues, let me thank you very much for a very productive, fruitful 5 years of this term that we worked together. And with all our political differences, the guiding principle was we've been mandated by the people of this province to come and serve here and to do the best to our individual abilities and as well as collective strength to ensure that we improve and change the quality of lives of the people of the Northern Cape. We are going out now to elections, and I want to say to my honorable member here, Makloa, I wish you well, because I know the odds are totally against your party. And I can only say to the EFF and the Freedom Front Plus, let's meet again in June. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Premier and Honorable members. Thank you, Honorable Premier, for your reply to the debate. This was indeed your last reply to the debate of the State of the Province address for the 6th administration. It doesn't mean that it's your last reply. It's only for the 6th administration. Thank you very much also to our guests for listening to the reply of the Premier. Honorable members, our House sitting are in 2 sessions. We have come to the conclusion of our first session. I will therefore suspend the proceedings and we will come back after the next 15 minutes. Thank you very much, honorable members. Thank you.
of our colleagues should be posted at that level. Thank you very much. The House is in session again.
Honorable members and guests, we will allow another 5 minutes for you just to settle down so that we can proceed with our second part of our session. Thank you very much, honorable members and all our guests. Welcome back to the second part of our House sitting. Can the officials assist us with our guests so that they can take their seats? We really need to start with our session. Honorable members, please note that the device controller is admitted into the House to assist the MEC whilst MEC is going to present the introduction of the Non-Cape Appropriation Bill to this House. Thank you very much to all our guests and our members. Secretary, can you then read us our next and last order for this sitting?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The next order is on introduction, Northern Cape Appropriation Bill 2024 and Northern Cape Second Adjustment Appropriation Bill 2024. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Secretary. Honorable members and guests, let me then call upon the MEC for Finance, Economic Development and Tourism, Honorable Vosloo, to deliver his budget speech and introduce the Non-Cape Appropriation Bill 2024 as well as the Non-Cape Second Adjustment Appropriation Bill 2024 to this House. I further request that the MEC, after his speech, place on the table the bills and all the papers associated with it. The media, we will give the media the first 10 minutes an opportunity to broadcast and take some photos. Thank you very much. MEC Vosloo, over to you.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I think I must just register my concern and our concern as the House that since yesterday, we haven't seen Honorable Rhoda. In fact, since SOPA, we are concerned about her whereabouts, we are concerned about her well-being, and we just hope that this purging will stop. And hopefully the political party in charge will take us into confidence about, because she was the chair, used to be the chair of SCOPA, albeit that the SCOPA did not function under her leadership. The same happened to Honorable Steenkamp. We still don't know what happened to him. And then also, the good thing about the Q7s, we are told that as MECs, it looks like we are having uniform, school uniform. So it's a good part of it. We are all equal. We are all the same. So thank you for the opportunity. Honorable members of Honorable Speaker, Honorable Deputy Speaker, Honorable Premier Dr. Zamani Saul, Honorable members of the Provincial Legislature, Honorable members of the Executive Council, Executive Mayors, Mayors and Councillors, the Director General, heads of departments, as well as municipal managers that are present here, distinguished invited guests, comrades and friends, members of the media, our listeners and viewers on the different social media platforms, ladies and gentlemen, goeiemorgen. Honorable Speaker and honorable members of the House, it is with a great sense of humility that I stand here to deliver the last speech, budget speech of the 6th administration under the leadership of the Honorable Premier Dr. Zamani Saul, and to further provide account of our fiscal choices since we assumed office in 2019. But most importantly, to provide details on the 2024 medium-term expenditure framework for the province of the Northern Cape. I am Abraham Vosloo, a Tswalo of note from the dusty streets before 1994, now paved streets in democracy, and I'm from Askam in the Kalahari. I'm a proud member of the Komani San community, and I'm a Kalat. The Komani San community have seen large portions of land forcefully removed and taken away from them by a brutal apartheid government. That land has been returned to them, and not only the land, but also wildlife given to them under the ANC government. Our dignity was restored under this democratic ANC government. We acknowledge that there are still challenges to tackle, but we have faith in the organization that brought us freedom from the oppressive regime of the past. No honorable leader of the opposition, Honorable Madlua, yesterday you said we are better. We are not better anymore. But we will never forget the painful lessons of the past. those with no conscience can do so at their own peril. Through the ANC, my political home, I have been granted the privilege and honor to serve the people of the Northern Cape in various capacities throughout, and that has been done through the deployment strategy of the ANC. And we are mentioning it unashamedly. Others are dishonest about their own cadre deployment strategy. Our detractors want people to believe that the ANC government doesn't care about colours, which is devoid of any truth. The ANC government provides services to all people in the province across all racial lines. Anybody or any organization that seeks to divide us along racial lines, like in the apartheid era, will not succeed. Want hoe kan ons vergeet watter party ons bevry het? The deployment strategy of the ANC, we are coming there. The deployment strategy of the ANC has empowered and enabled me, together with a collective, to improve audit outcomes at David Creeper local municipality in Uppington, whilst I was serving and deployed as a director of corporate services for 7 years, as well as Keigarib local municipality, where I served and have been deployed as a municipal manager. As executive mayor, where I was also deployed to, at a district municipality, we managed to get clean audits for 3 consecutive years till my redeployment. Even now, in provincial government, apart from provincial treasury, we managed to improve the Department of Economic Development and Tourism's audit opinion to a clean audit outcome. That is what the ANC deployment strategy is all about. Honorable Speaker, as we are about to conclude our term, allow me to briefly reflect on what we inherited as the 6th administration. We inherited the provincial debt of about 850 million rand, which we reduced by 500 million rand with the 2021 finance bill. That was now before your time, Honorable Kars. This more than halved the provincial debt at the time to about 350 million rand. Honorable Speakers and members of the House, the 6th administration, we were most unfortunate as we had to contend with huge reductions of about 5.2 billion rand when we took office, and a further reduction of 1.6 billion rand in the 2024 MTEF as we close off this term. And honorable members will remember in the adjustment budget we spoke of that. We, as the 6th administration, we are, however, not complaining, but merely stating the facts. These huge reductions did not deter us as the collective of the 6th administration. We created opportunities amidst all these fiscal challenges, with our ambition firmly embedded in our vision of creating a modern, growing, and a successful Northern Cape province. Honorable Speaker, due to the energy, the imagination, and the ambition of our Premier, today the Northern Cape has a solid footprint in the national discourse. We are leading in the green energy space, with the Northern Cape accounting for over 50% of all independent power producers in operation as we speak. It means we are already contributing towards the grid as we speak as a province. And on top of that, in terms of renewable energy projects in the province, 64% of all projects awarded are now based in the Northern Cape. So we can rightly claim to be the renewable energy hub, not only of South Africa, even of SADC. The Namakwa Special Economic Zone has been designated by Cabinet. Premier has already spoken about it. We have developed a green hydrogen master plan for the province, and we are mentioning but a few. We have furthermore significantly improved our intergovernmental relations collaboration and are in constant engagement with various sectors at the national level in pursuit of mobilizing additional funding for the province. Honorable Speaker, as a direct consequence of these efforts, the province successfully concluded a loan agreement with the Development Bank of South Africa, DBSA, amounting to 600 million rand, in line with the borrowing powers of the Provincial Government Act number 48 of 1996. Thus, honorable members of this House, is in an effort to drastically reduce our housing backlog. The province will contribute an additional amount of 400 million rand to bring the total project to 1 billion rand. This will be the very first of its kind in the entire country. We are made to understand that other provinces are following suit. So as the Northern Cape, we are now trendsetters and others are following. So we must be proud of the leadership that the Premier has been able to provide in this entire endeavor. Indeed, Honorable Premier, this is the legacy that you spearheaded as the captain of this ship. This is leading with ambition and imagination. Honorable Speaker and members of the House, whilst we receive the smallest share of the national collective revenue, our ambition is not to confine to our limitations, but rather innovation and ambition as we turn policy into action. This reminds me of what Nelson Henderson said, and I quote, "The true meaning of life is to plant trees under whose shade you do not expect to sit." Indeed, the people of the Northern Cape will after 29 May 2024 continue to benefit from your leadership and efforts, Honorable Premier. We have articulated a clear vision, and coupled with that, we have developed a developmental roadmap that will change our economic landscape forever. Honorable Speaker, let me at this point also provide a summary of the aggregates and rationale underpinning this fiscal framework for the 2024 medium-term expenditure framework. The transfers to the province in respect of the provincial equitable share reflect both fiscal consolidation reductions and additional resources to cater mainly for the carry-through effects of the 2023 wage agreement. More specifically, focusing on the Department of Health as well as the Department of Education, knowing that those are our apex priority that we have identified as a sixth administration when we got into office. Honorable Speaker and honorable members, as a result of weak economic performance coupled with a high burden in muted economic growth environment, tough decisions had to be made during the budget throughout the entire cycle of the 5 years. It must also be noted that in spite of these huge reductions, both national as well as provincial treasuries provided some cushioning to ensure sustainability in the delivery of core services, in particular during the COVID period. Honorable Speaker, the spending reductions announced in November 2023 during the provincial medium-term budget policy statement have now materialized and form part of this budget framework for the 2024 MTEF period. Fiscal consolidation and reducing the fiscal deficit remain key features of this fiscal framework, which should result in a sustained reduction of debt by the end of this decade. The province will lose an amount of 525 million rand in the 2024-25 financial year, which totals 1.6 billion rand over the next 3 years due to fiscal consolidation, as I earlier on mentioned. This is attributed to the national government's effort to rein in and stabilize debt, which is projected to reach 74.2% of GDP in 2024-25 financial year. Despite this scenario, this debt outlook is a much improved position compared to the 2023 medium-term budget policy statement, where it picked up at 75.8% of GDP. Honorable Speaker and members of the House, we have repeatedly indicated that these budget cuts must have minimal impact on the delivery of service, in particular in your social sectors, the Department of Health and Education in particular. Having said this, we have also demanded a commitment from these two departments to deal decisively with fiscal leakages and to address the inefficiencies in the system. And we know runs into significant amounts of money. And in that regard, we can still do better. If not, honorable members, this cushioning will not help much at all. On a positive note, Honorable Speaker, the province received additional allocations amounting to 873 million rand in the first year of 2024 MTEF and 2.7 billion rand over the next 3 years, specifically to deal with the carry-through obligations of the wage agreement that we know is negotiated at the national level. Honorable Speaker and members of the House, we have identified the following 3 areas that should help the province to deal with any anticipated fiscal shocks in the near future. The first one is building adequate fiscal buffers, followed by improving and optimizing our revenue, and last one, leveraging more on increasing revenue by generating interest. Honorable members, this will result in a stable fiscal framework that will ignite pivotal enablers towards funding our key priorities in the province. Honorable Speaker, since the beginning of the 6th administration, the province has witnessed a remarkable journey in provincial audit outcomes, transitioning from the 2 clean audits opinions that we got when we came into office in 2019 to a remarkable 5 in 2023. This improvement is a testimony to our unwavering inflation. Honorable Speaker, when considering our unemployment levels, we as a country find ourselves in a slightly better position with the unemployment rate of 0.6%, 0.6 of a percentage point lower than a year ago when it stood at 32.1%. The number of employed people increased by 789,000, while the unemployed increased by 142,000. On a quarterly basis, we are, however, a little worse off, with the unemployment rate increasing by 0.2% of a percentage point. This is accompanied by a 22,000 person reduction in the number of employed people, together with an increase of 46,000 who were employed. Honorable Speaker, although we as a province are still better off than the country as a whole, provincial employment deteriorated in the 4th quarter of 2023, with the unemployment rate increasing by 0.6%, with a percentage point from the previous quarter of 4.8%, percentage points from the fourth quarter of 2022. The latest unemployment rate of the province stands at 26.9% compared to the 29.4 percentage point when we came into office in 2019. So there's been an improvement in as far as that is concerned. Annually, ladies and gentlemen, about 9,000 jobs were lost, accompanied by an increase of 25,000 in the unemployed population. From the previous quarter, a total of about 2,000 jobs were lost, while the number of unemployed people increased by approximately 3,000. Honorable Speaker, community and social services remain the largest employing industry in the province, providing about a quarter of the employed people in the Northern Cape with employment. This was followed by agriculture, employing almost 18%. Compared to the previous quarter, the province gained jobs. In addition to that, in the field, in the sectors of agriculture, in mining, in trade, as well as in transport and finance, while the remaining 4 industries shed jobs. Honorable Speaker, with that context, we need to accept that when it comes to the local sphere of government, there are no easy solutions, and the current economic challenges are not helping either. The number of municipalities that failed to comply with submission timelines for annual financial statements as prescribed by the MFMA is concerning. For the 2022-23 financial year, 6 out of the 31 municipalities failed to submit the AFS on time, which is on the 31st of August. Furthermore, the financial statements submitted by some municipalities are of poor quality and often subjected to material adjustment, in some cases with no supporting documentation. This is evident given the alarming number of municipalities in the province who remain stagnant on qualified and disclaimer audit opinions for a number of years. Consequently, this gross non-compliance does not only impact on the ability of municipalities to perform their functions within the accountability framework, but also on the oversight role of the provincial treasury, as well as the ability of the Auditor General to exercise his constitutional mandate. Honorable Speaker, this perpetual behavior has prompted the provincial treasury to enforce the preparation of quarterly interim financial statements by all municipalities in the province. That's the intervention we are making to ensure preparedness and proactively correct all errors as well as misstatements. This move will assist in the timely submission of quality annual financial statements at financial year end and reduce the high reliance on consultants accordingly. Okay. Honorable Speaker, taking the cue from the announcement of the 2 billion rand conditional grant funding for smart prepaid meters in municipalities, as announced in the 2024 budget speech of the Minister, the province will augment this initiative from National Treasury through a revenue enhancement project that will allow municipalities to improve internal audit controls to enhance revenue for municipalities. Honorable Speaker, the anticipated expansion of mining activities in the Northern Cape will prompt municipalities' service delivery and budget implementation plans to be responsive to this expected growth in the affected towns. Therefore, increased emphasis will be placed on tightening the municipal budget adoption processes, increasing oversight on budget implementation, and ensuring that municipalities have adequately provided for infrastructure upgrades and maintenance. The province will aggressively support municipalities that have adopted unfunded budgets with the implementation of budget funding plans to promote compliance in terms of the MFMA. Honorable Speaker, and honorable members of this House, the work has started whereupon, after a long time, all municipalities were successfully engaged on mid-year budget and performance. We are confident that these engagements have given us a clear picture of where our municipalities are at and which areas collaboratively support can be channeled into. Honorable Speaker, Provincial Treasury has identified gaps on contract management, bid committees, functioning of bid committees, and framework for infrastructure delivery procurement management. Unfortunately, these gaps result in increased, irregular, and negative audit opinions. To address these, training sessions will be rolled out to relevant municipalities to build capacity. Honorable Speaker and members, as part of our ongoing commitment to good governance, we have heeded the need to strengthen municipalities on financial recovery services by supporting the compilation of new financial recovery plans and supporting dysfunctional municipalities with early warning systems and assessment of financial management issues. The organizational structure of Treasury has been revised to give effect to this much needed proactive approach of the sixth administration. The province has a number of dysfunctional municipalities and currently has seven municipalities with financial recovery plans in place. We are working tirelessly together with the municipality and other stakeholders on planned awareness and roadshows to these municipalities regarding the role that municipal leadership must play. We encourage taking ownership and institutionalizing FRPs to improve overall efficiency and ensure proper reporting and accountability. Honorable Speaker, this august House will recall that the Supreme Court of Appeal ruled in November 2020 that the preferential procurement regulations of 2017 promulgated by the Minister of Finance were inconsistent with the Preferential Procurement Policy Framework Act, which is also called the Procurement Act, and were thus invalid. The SCA suspended the invalidity of regulations for 12 months to provide the Minister with adequate time to make the new regulations. The Minister subsequently released the revised Preferential Procurement Regulations 2022, which is currently still intact at this very moment as we speak. Honorable Speaker, the National Treasury has embarked on a process to develop the procurement bill to serve as replacement for a preferential procurement policy framework with the aim to consolidate fragmented procurement regulations. The bill was introduced in the National Assembly on the 30th of June 2023 and passed by National Assembly in December 2023. The aim of the bill is to regulate public procurement and to prescribe a framework within which preferential procurement must be implemented. It is important and necessary, considering history of South Africa and the developments after the Constitution took effect, to have legislation that creates a single framework regulating procurement in line with the applicable stipulations of the Constitution and that effectively addresses the socio-economic challenges of South Africa. The procurement bill is underpinned by constitutional imperatives and dedicated an entire chapter to preferential procurement policy. The Office of the Procurement Officer at National Treasury is currently conducting parliamentary roadshows across the province and across other provinces to clarify the comments received and how these should be handled. Honorable Speaker, once the Public Procurement Act is finally promulgated, after all processes have been concluded, the bill will assist greatly in implementing procurement strategies that will advance the interests of the people of the Northern Cape. The bill will emphasize transparency in procurement processes, fair competition, and support for medium and small enterprises and the historically disadvantaged individuals. The bill will also facilitate achievement of preferential procurement targets for designated groups, including women, youth, and people living with disabilities at the provincial as well as at the regional level. Honorable Speaker, in as far as the budget aggregates are concerned, the 2024 MTF period, the province has a total budget of 68.1 billion rand. This can be broken down into 22.5 billion rand in the financial year 2024-25, 22.3 billion rand in the 2025-26 financial year, and 23.3 billion rand in the 2026-27 financial year. The budget's growth at an average rate of 1.8% over this 3-year period. Direct national transfer remained the largest source of funding for the province, amounting to a total of 65.9 billion rand, or 96.7% of the provincial budget in the coming 3 years. This amount is split into equitable share of 50.8 billion rand, or 74.6%, and conditional grants of 15.1 billion rand, or 22.1%. An amount of 600 million rand is provided for by means of provincial own funding through pledging. I will provide more information on this later. Own revenue makes up the remaining 2% of the provincial funds at an amount of 1.6 billion rand over the next 3 years. The original baseline of the province on the provincial equitable share amounted to 49.4 billion rand over the 2024 medium-term expenditure framework. This increased by 315.5 million rand due to the impact of new data updates to the formula by which it is calculated. Honorable Speaker, despite the budget constraints that have become such a permanent feature of the fiscal framework, the equitable share further increased by 2.8 billion rand for compensation-related matters, mostly in respect of employees employed in education as well as in the Department of Health. There was, however, a fiscal consolidation reduction of 1.7 billion rand and a shift of 105.4 million rand from equitable share to conditional grants to provide for employees who are employed within the conditional grants. The netto effect of this adjustment is an additional 1 billion rand. This brings the revised equitable share allocation for the province of the Northern Cape to 50.8 billion rand over the 2024 MTEF, of which 16.1 billion rand is in 2024-25, 16.9 billion rand in 2025-26, and 17.7 billion rand in the 2026-27 financial year. After taking these adjustments into consideration, the average growth of the equitable share of the province is 4.8% over the 2024 MTEF. Conditional grants grow by an average of minus 1.9% over the MTEF due to negative growth of 7.3% in the 2025-26 financial year, followed by positive growth of 3.6% in the 2026-27 financial year. The provincial owned revenue is estimated to grow by an average rate of 2.9% over the medium term. Honorable Speaker and members of the House, Provincial Treasury remain committed to assist departments to implement the provincial revenue enhancement strategy to fast-track and optimize our revenue collection in the province. The province will take over the motor vehicle license renewal function once the contract of the South African Post Office comes to an end The Department of Transport Safety and Liaison is allocated additional resources in this framework to build adequate internal capacity in anticipation of this very important development. In as far as infrastructure is concerned, as a provincial administration, we cannot overemphasize that infrastructure remains a catalyst to grow the provincial economy, and we will therefore continue to provide and plan for the effective delivery and management of our infrastructure. That is, ladies and gentlemen, to ensure that our service delivery objectives are realized. The total provincial infrastructure allocation for 2024 MTEF amounts to 8.8 billion rand, of which 3.2 billion rand is appropriated for the 2024-25 financial year, 2.8 billion rand for the 2025-26 financial year, and 2.9 billion for the 2026-27 financial year. Honorable members, you may notice that the outer years reflect a decline in allocation. However, this is due to the performance-based incentive grant system processes that allow education and health to access additional funding when they perform well in infrastructure reporting and overall achievement. The budget facilities for infrastructure will remain a source to augment our infrastructure budget as a province. We will utilize more effectively to ensure that our applications make it through the approval process. New reforms in the public-private partnership framework space would further allow us to leverage private sector funding in the delivery and management of infrastructure in the province. In addition, the province has been the first in the country to venture into the newly introduced front-loading and pledging reforms. This has realized an allocation of 600 million rand towards addressing the housing backlogs, where we are going to construct 2,500 houses in the 2024-25 financial year. And with the project management team from the DBSA and technical officials in the province, we are confident that we will be able to deliver on this target. As I indicated, the province will contribute an additional 400 million rand to bring the total project to 1 billion rand. Honorable Speaker, it is envisaged that through the portfolio of projects identified by our infrastructure sector in the province, we will continue to contribute to job creation and the socio-economic upliftment of our people. Honorable Speaker, as I alluded to earlier, the provincial budget has been cut by 1.7 billion rand as a result of fiscal consolidation, as I explained. To cushion departments against this, the province will make 840 million rand available over the next 3 years, which has been allocated in order to stabilize our provincial public finances, thereby lessening fiscal risk to the departments, encouraging provincial economic growth, as well as providing support to the most vulnerable members of the Northern Cape communities. Our total consolidated spending is expected to increase from 22.2 billion rand in 2024-25 to 22.5 billion in 2026-27 at an average growth of 0.8%, with conditional grants projected at 15.1 billion rand over the MTF period. Honorable Speaker and members of the House, the social sector continues to drive spending in that 49.7 billion rand, or 75% of the budget, is allocated to the social sector departments, that is education, health, and social development over the MTF period. This is in line with the 6 administration's apex priorities to expand quality education and access to education and skills development, moving towards universal health coverage and mainstreaming gender empowerment of youth and persons with disability. Included in this allocation is an amount of 1.5 billion rand to cover the carry-through effect in respect of the wage agreement. Honorable Speaker, education is allocated 25.3 billion rand over the 2024 MTEF, of which 3.1 billion rand is in respect of conditional grants and 704 million rand in respect of the carry-through cost of the wage agreement. Our intervention in education, Honorable Speaker, members of the House, continues into the medium term. And to this effect, we will make an amount of 90 million rand available for the software online system, specifically for the Afrikaans version for grades 10, 11, and 12. Furthermore, an amount of 60 million rand is also set aside to assist with the continuation of our matric intervention program. Over the next 3 years, 20 billion rand is allocated to the Department of Health. 5.7 billion rand is in respect of conditional grants, while 657 million rand will cover the carry-through cost of the wage agreement. In our pursuit of ensuring that there is provision for comprehensive social protection services against vulnerability and poverty, while creating an enabling environment for sustainable development, an amount of 3.1 billion rand has been allocated to the Department of Social Development over the MTEF. Sports, Arts and Culture is allocated 1.3 billion rand over the 2024 MTEF, of which 565 million rand is in respect of community library services to enable our communities to gain access to knowledge and information to help them to improve their socio-economic status. Honorable Speaker, an urgent priority of the government is to safeguard positive economic growth that will inspire small and medium enterprises, the development thereof, and stimulate equitable and inclusive growth, while providing further opportunities for employment, particularly for women, youth, and persons living with disability. In order for us to achieve this, the Department of Economic Development and Tourism is allocated 1.1 billion rand over the 2024 MTEF. For the 2024-25 financial year, an amount of 10.5 million rand is allocated to provide support to the construction company, while 15 million rand is made available to provide for provincial economic recovery initiatives. An amount of 6 billion rand is also allocated over the next 3 years for the Department of Roads and Public Works. We continue with our efforts to improve the state of our provincial roads, and as such, 3.8 billion rand is in respect of road maintenance throughout the province. Honorable Speaker, the Department of Agriculture, Environmental Affairs, Land Reform and Rural Development has been allocated 2.3 billion rand over the MTEF, of which 395 million rand will provide agricultural support to land and agrarian reform projects, which contributes toward food security, job creation, and a further 3.5 million rand is allocated towards the cleaning and greening programs. This is a national call from the Presidency of the Republic of South Africa with a goal of achieving environmental sustainability and protection. Honorable Speaker, we continue to build on the work that we have previously done in creating sustainable human settlements and refining the quality of life for our households in the province. To achieve this, an amount of 3.2 billion rand is allocated to the Department of Cooperative Governance, Human Settlement and Traditional Affairs over the MTEF. Honorable members, we are serious in reducing the housing backlog in the province. Let me be the first to indicate that the Department of Coxa is administering the 600 million rand that I previously referred to as pledging secured by the province towards the construction of the houses in all districts across the province. We are adding an additional 100 million rand from our own revenue towards provincial housing project. In addition to the 1 billion rand, we are allocating another 100 million rand from the provincial housing, from the provincial coffers. Honorable Speaker, while the Department of Koksta will be responsible for the capital portion of this loan using future human settlement grants, the Northern Cape Provincial Treasury will service the interest paid towards this loan. The Office of the Premier, Honorable Speaker, has been allocated 950 million rand over the next 3 financial years, of which 32.3 million rand will provide for the operational shortfall in goods and services, and 10 million rand is allocated towards the communication strategy to improve our communication capabilities and bring government services and information closer to the people of the Northern Cape. Honorable Speaker, over the next 3 years, Provincial Treasury will receive 1.1 billion rand of an amount of 47 million rand that has been allocated in 2024-25 financial year. 32 million rand will cover the interest of the loan in respect of the human settlement grant loan repayment, and 15 million rand is allocated to the project management technical support between the Development Bank of South Africa as well as Provincial Treasury. It is in an effort to improve our project management and monitoring capacity that this project is allocated, which will assist the Department of Koksta with project execution, project management, as well as monitoring and reporting. So over the next 3 years, the Department of Transport, Safety and Liaison will receive 1.1 billion rand, of which 218 million rand is in respect of the Public Transport Operations Grant to assist commuters, bus services, and to ensure that the province meet its contractual obligations and provide services efficiently in the province. An additional amount of 10 million rand is set aside to provide for the absorption of new traffic officers who will complete their training in December 2024. Honorable Speaker, given that we are at the end of our term at the 6th administration, we are earmarking the baseline for the 2024-25 financial year in respect of the party political funding to be dispensed in April and May to assist the political parties represented in the legislature with costs associated with the elections and the elections only. Honorable members, what this means is that the Provincial Treasury will make available a new baseline for the 7th Parliament based on the parties that will be represented in the legislature at that point. And early on, the Premier outlined how the composition will look like, and I think we are all in agreement with that. Honorable Speaker, we have also made adequate provision in the framework to assist the Department of Transport, Safety and Liaison to take over the motor vehicle license renewal function from the South African Post Office upon expiry of the contract later in this year. Honorable Speaker and members of this House, I will now turn my attention to the Northern Cape Second Adjustment Appropriation Bill for 2024. Apologies. Honorable Speaker, the Manufacturing, Engineering and Related Services SETA, MERSETA, entered into a partnership with the Office of the Premier on behalf of the provincial government to upskill young people in the manufacturing, engineering services as well as building. In line with this agreement, an amount of 2.3 million rand is made available in the 2023-24 financial year towards this particular priority. Honorable Speaker and members of the House, I would like to conclude by saying the following. as the sixth administration, we have set the agenda. We have set the blueprint for the development landscape of the province, even at the national stage. We have made various commitments over this period, of which some were met and others recorded significant progress, as outlined by the Premier in the SOPA address, whilst a few are taking traction now. Honorable Speaker, opportunities are in abundance and the foundation is firmly laid for this province to thrive in the seventh administration under the ANC government. Honorable Speaker, the hard work has been done. All that we need to do as this collective is to take this blueprint forward and change our fortunes forever as the people of the Northern Cape. At this point, let me once more take this opportunity to express our greatest appreciation as the Treasury team to the Honorable Premier Dr. Zamani Saul for his unwavering support over the last few years, 5 years. Myself, together with Cabinet colleagues, we have been fortunate enough to enjoy the front seat and actively witness firsthand your consistent daily commitment to service the people of the Northern Cape, Premier. We can rightly claim that the Tinswallows of the Northern Cape are in safe hands under your leadership, Honorable Premier. It is only through this support and the Treasury Committee and the Executive Council appreciation of the difficult and sometimes painful decisions that we had to make, that we leave this administration in a much better position compared to what we inherited in May 2019. To the Portfolio Committee of Finance, as well as SCOPA, we say it was not an easy path. Your in-depth understanding, that is now the time that Rhoda wasn't there, your in-depth understanding of the sector and uncomfortable questions kept us as a Treasury on our toes. Indeed, this is the epitome of our democratic principles to enhance transparency and accountability. Once again, to the Treasury team, led by Dr. Gasela, and at some point in an acting capacity by the PAG Bosvark, I say continue to provide the leadership to the province and remain steadfast in fulfilling your fiduciary responsibilities. Last but not least, to the ministerial staff, thank you for your support, and to my family, I am indebted to you for your continued support. It made a huge difference in my day-to-day operations. At a personal level, this has been a remarkable journey for the Tinswalo from Askam in the Kalahari. Sometimes painful and sad, but the grace and mercy of God sustained me and my family. A special word of gratitude and appreciation goes to my 3 girls and broader family for their warm support over the last 3 years. I am forever indebted to you. Honorable Speaker and honorable members, I now table the following documents for consideration by this august House. The Northern Cape Main Appropriation Bill 2024 MTEF, the Northern Cape Second Adjustment Appropriation Bill 2024, the Northern Cape Estimates of Provincial Revenue and Expenditure 2024 MTEF, the Northern Cape Capital Estimates and Provincial Expenditure for the 2024 MTEF, and the Northern Cape Socio-Economic Review 2024. Ek dink is belangrik om vir die mense van die politieke partye hier te noem, dat ons kom terug as die ANC regering in the 7th administration to build on the good work done over the last, not only 5 years, over the last 30 years. Thank you so much for this opportunity. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much, Honorable Vosloo. Honorable members, in terms of Rule 189, subsection 2, the bill and papers are referred to the Portfolio Committee on Finance, Economic Development and Tourism for consideration and report. The committee will convene just after this House sitting at the Municipal Chamber. I would also want to determine the period for the consideration as from the 6th, whom is today, up until the 14th of March 2024. Honorable members and all our guests, this brought us to the end of our House sitting for today. Thank you very much for your attendance. This then also concludes the business of the day. I would also just remind our guests that you must remain in your seats up until the proceedings of this House has been finalized. Honorable members, thank you very much. Also, thank you very much to all our officials from the different departments, the officials of the legislature. The House then stands to adjourn. Thank you.